Welcome back to Infidelity Tales Lab. We're incredibly grateful for your support. Before we begin today's tale, tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. The aroma of roasted turkey wafted through the Mercer family home as Eric helped his twin boys, Noah and Caleb, hang ornaments on the Christmas tree. His piercing blue eyes softened only when looking at his 6-year-old sons, a rare display of warmth from the otherwise stern architect. "Daddy, can I put the star on top?" Noah asked, clutching the golden ornament. "No fair. You did it last year," Caleb protested, reaching for the star. Eric's strong hands steadied both boys. "How about you both help me?" He lifted them up one at a time, their small hands working together to place the star perfectly at the apex of the tree. From the kitchen came the sound of dishes clattering as Graciela prepared dinner. Eric noticed her constant glances toward the hallway, her carefully cultivated smile faltering whenever she thought no one was watching. "Everything all right in here?" Eric asked, stepping into the kitchen. His wife startled, nearly dropping the serving dish she held. "Of course, darling." Graciela's dark hair fell forward as she busied herself with the turkey. "Just making sure everything's perfect for your mother." Eric's jaw tightened imperceptibly. Graciela had been acting strange for weeks now, but he'd attributed it to holiday stress. As he turned to leave, he heard hushed voices coming from the adjacent room. "Bernadette, we can't tell Eric about Graciela's secret family in Boston." His father's voice was barely above a whisper. "The twins already have a half-sister there. It'll destroy him, but the girl looks exactly like his brother Paul." His mother's voice trembled. "Someone will notice." Eric's blood ran cold. He stood motionless behind the kitchen door, his mind racing. Paul had been missing for months, supposedly on a business trip abroad with no contact. Now this revelation about a niece? His hands clenched into fists, but years of self-discipline kept his face neutral. "Eric," Graciela called from the kitchen. "Could you help me with the plates?" He forced his features into a mask of normalcy. "Coming." His voice betrayed nothing of the fury building inside him. The family gathered around the dining table. Eric, Graciela, the twins, and his parents. Bernadette kept shooting worried glances at her daughter-in-law, while Graciela seemed increasingly agitated. "The turkey looks wonderful, Graciela," Bernadette said, her tone slightly strained. "Thank you." Graciela's smile didn't reach her eyes. "It's Paul's recipe, actually. He taught me before he went away." Eric's fork paused halfway to his mouth. He studied his wife's face with renewed scrutiny, noting every micro-expression, every nervous tick. "Mommy, when is Uncle Paul coming back?" Caleb asked innocently. "Soon, sweetheart," Graciela answered quickly. Too quickly. "He's very busy with work." "Boys," Eric interrupted, his voice steady despite the rage churning inside him. "Why don't you tell Grandma about your school play?" As the twins launched into an animated description of their performance, Eric observed the adults around the table. His mother's worried glances, his father's forced enthusiasm, Graciela's nervous fidgeting. It all painted a picture of deception that made his stomach turn. "I need to make a call," Eric announced before dessert was served. No one questioned his departure. They never did. His business often required immediate attention, and he cultivated that reputation carefully. In his home office, Eric began methodically packing a suitcase. Each item was selected with purpose, his movements precise and controlled. The cheerful sounds of his family's conversation drifted up from below, now seeming like a mockery of everything he'd believed true. His phone buzzed, his father calling. "Eric, son." The strain in his father's voice was palpable. "There's more." "Graciela is pregnant again, and Paul's wife just confessed everything to the police. Your brother's been missing for 3 days. He didn't go on a business trip, as we told everyone." Eric's grip on the phone tightened, but his voice remained eerily calm. "I'm heading out of town for some urgent work. I'll be in touch." He ended the call and stood in silence, his mind already formulating plans. The pregnancy revelation was another knife in his back, but he wouldn't let emotion cloud his judgment. They would all pay for their betrayal, but it would be done his way, calculated, precise, and utterly devastating. "Is everything okay?" Graciela appeared in the doorway, her face a mask of concern. Eric smiled, and for a moment, she relaxed until she saw the coldness in his eyes. Just business, he replied smoothly. A project in Detroit needs my immediate attention. But it's Christmas, she protested weakly. Money doesn't take holidays, Graciela. He closed his suitcase with a decisive click. Neither does justice. The last word hung in the air between them, and he saw fear flicker across her face. Good. Let her worry. Let her wonder what he knew. I'll be back when I can. He kissed her cheek, a gesture that once meant something, but now felt like ash in his mouth. Take care of our boys. As he drove away from his home, Eric's mind was already several steps ahead. He'd built his career on attention to detail, on seeing patterns others missed. Now those same skills would serve a different purpose. They thought they could destroy his life? He would show them what destruction really looked like. The hotel room was austere but suited Eric's needs perfectly. He'd checked in under the name James Parker, paying cash and choosing a location just far enough from Chicago to avoid accidental encounters. The desk became his command center, laptop open to multiple tabs as he began his investigation. His first call was to Jan O'Connor, his business partner of 15 years. Jan answered on the second ring. Eric? Thought you'd be knee-deep in turkey and tinsel. Jan, I need you to handle things at the office for a few days. Eric's tone made it clear this wasn't a request. I have a personal matter that needs my full attention. A pause on the other end. Everything okay? It will be. Eric's voice held an edge that made Jan hesitate. Just keep things running. And Jan? If anyone asks about me, I'm in Detroit for the Riverside project. Got it. Take care of whatever this is. Eric's next call was to Ryan Conley, a private investigator he'd used for background checks on potential business partners. Ryan's reputation for discretion and thoroughness made him perfect for this task. They met in the hotel bar an hour later. Ryan was a solid presence in a worn leather jacket, his weathered face revealing nothing as Eric laid out his requirements. I need everything on Graciela Jenkins and Oliver Mackenzie. Eric pushed a manila envelope across the table. Phone records, financial transactions, communication patterns, travel history. Every detail, no matter how small. Ryan raised an eyebrow at the size of the retainer check. This is personal. Very. Eric's blue eyes were arctic. I want daily reports starting tomorrow. If anyone asks questions about your investigation, I want to know immediately. Understood? Ryan pocketed the envelope. One question. How far back? 3 years minimum. Focus particularly on any connections to Boston. Eric's jaw tightened. And Ryan? Money is no object. Just give me results. Over the next few days, Eric barely slept. He created spreadsheets tracking every piece of information Ryan sent, looking for patterns, connections, anomalies. The truth began emerging like a photograph developing in darkroom chemicals. Ryan's first report confirmed the affair with Oliver Mackenzie. Bank statements showed regular transfers to an account in Boston. Hotel receipts, flight records, phone logs, all painted a picture of elaborate deception. The Boston connection is solid, Ryan reported during their third meeting. Found records of a birth certificate. Girl named Sarah, age 4. Mother listed as Catherine Morris, father. He paused, watching Eric carefully. Paul Mercer. Eric's face remained impassive, but his knuckles whitened around his coffee cup. Continue. Oliver Mackenzie's company, Summit Development, has been making regular payments to an account in Graciela's name. Started about 18 months ago. Ryan slid over more documents. There's more. Mackenzie's got a reputation in the industry. Aggressive business tactics, questionable deals. Several of his projects are under investigation for permit violations. Give me everything on his business dealings. Eric's mind was already formulating plans. Every partner, every investor, every project. Late that night, Eric received a call from his mother. Eric, please come home. Bernadette's voice was thick with worry. The boys miss you. Did you know? His question cut through her plea. About Paul's daughter? About Graciela? Silence stretched between them. We thought we were protecting you, she finally whispered. Eric's laugh was cold. Protecting me by helping them deceive me? By hiding the fact that my brother has a child? That he's missing? Eric, you don't understand. No, Mother. You don't understand. His voice was terrifyingly calm. But you will. Everyone will. He ended the call and returned to his laptop. Each revelation hardened his resolve. His architect's mind, trained to see how pieces fit together, now focused on taking apart the elaborate construct of lies surrounding him. A text from Ryan caught his attention. McKinsey meeting Jeeb tomorrow. Hyatt downtown. 2 p.m. Eric smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The pieces were falling into place. Now it was time to start moving them. The dingy bar on Chicago's South Side wasn't Dwayne Sargent's usual haunt, but the promise of easy money had drawn him there. He found Eric Mercer waiting in a corner booth, a glass of untouched whiskey before him. "Didn't expect a call from you," Dwayne said, sliding into the booth. His fingers twitched nervously, a gambler's tell. Eric pushed an envelope across the table. "Consider it a Christmas bonus. There's more where that came from." Dwayne's eyes widened at the stack of hundreds. "What's the catch?" "I know about your sister and Oliver McKenzie." Eric's voice was conversational, but his eyes were predatory. "I know about your gambling debts too. $50,000 to Tommy Chin's outfit? That's quite a hole you've dug yourself." The color drained from Dwayne's face. "How did you—" "I know everything, Dwayne." Eric leaned forward. "The question is, how much do you want to keep breathing? Are you threatening me?" "No." Eric smiled, showing teeth. "I'm offering you a way out. Help me, and those debts disappear." "Refuse." He shrugged. "I hear Tommy's collection methods are rather creative." Dwayne licked his lips nervously. "What do you want?" "Information. About Oliver's business dealings. About your sister's involvement." Eric pushed a burner phone across the table. "You'll report everything you see and hear. Every meeting, every phone call, every whispered conversation. They'll kill me if they find out. They'll kill you if Tommy's boys find you first." Eric's voice held no sympathy. "Choose wisely." Meanwhile, at the Mercer house, Graciela paced nervously. Eric hadn't answered her calls for days. Her hand strayed to her still flat stomach as she dialed Oliver's number. "He knows something," she said as soon as he answered. "I can feel it. You're being paranoid." Oliver's voice was dismissive. "Eric's buried in work, just like always. Focus on what's important. Are you sure about the pregnancy?" "Yes." Graciela's voice dropped to a whisper. "But Oliver, if he finds out." "He won't." Oliver's confidence grated on her nerves. "Everything's under control. The Boston situation is contained, and Eric's too focused on his precious business to notice anything else." But Graciela wasn't convinced. She'd seen something in Eric's eyes before he left, a coldness that frightened her. At the office, Jan O'Connor was growing increasingly concerned. Eric's absence was unusual enough, but something about his last conversation with his friend and partner had set off warning bells. He found himself drawn to Eric's office, searching for clues. In a locked drawer, he discovered files on Oliver McKenzie's development projects and printouts of Graciela's bank statements. "Oh, Eric," he muttered. "What have you uncovered?" His phone buzzed, a text from Eric. "Need you to review the Wilson contract. Focus on the liability clauses." Jan understood the hidden message. Eric was planning something, and he needed legal coverage. Whatever was coming, it would be methodical and absolute. Eric never did anything by half measures. In his hotel room, Eric met with his lawyer, Michael Stanford. The older man listened gravely as Eric laid out his discoveries and his requirements. "You understand what you're asking?" Stanford asked carefully. "This goes beyond a simple divorce filing." "I understand perfectly." Eric's voice was steel. "I want everything in place, the divorce papers, the custody agreements, the financial separations. When I move, it will be final and complete. And the business angle? Going after McKenzie's company is necessary." Eric's eyes glittered dangerously. "They tried to destroy my family, Michael. Now I'll destroy everything they've built." After the lawyer left, Eric received another call from Ryan. "Got something interesting," the PI reported. "Found a connection between McKenzie's company and Paul's disappearance. Your brother was looking into some of Summit's development deals before he vanished." Eric's hand tightened on the phone. "Keep digging. I want every detail." He ended the call and stared at the wall of information he'd created. Photos, documents, bank statements, all connected by red strings, forming a web of betrayal and deceit. At the center were two photos, Graciela and Oliver, caught by Ryan's surveillance camera, leaving a hotel together. Eric's phone buzzed again. Dwayne. Oliver's meeting with Chinese investors tomorrow, Dwayne reported nervously. Something about the Riverside project. He's nervous, man. Really nervous. Good. Eric smiled coldly. Keep watching. And Dwayne? Remember our agreement. One word to your sister or Oliver. I won't say anything. I swear. Eric ended the call and made another entry in his notebook. The pieces were moving exactly as he'd planned. Soon, very soon, he would start dismantling their world, piece by carefully chosen piece. His phone rang one final time. His father again. Son, please. Whatever you're planning. You lost the right to advise me when you chose to hide the truth. Eric interrupted coldly. Tell mother I'll call when I can. The boys need at least one stable parent right now. He hung up and returned to his planning. The betrayal had awakened something in him, a cold, calculating fury that would not be satisfied until justice was served. They would learn that crossing Eric Mercer was the biggest mistake of their lives, and he would make sure the lesson was unforgettable. Eric's return to Chicago carried none of the turmoil that had marked his departure. He strode into his home with measured steps, briefcase in hand, as if returning from any ordinary business trip. Graciela stood in the foyer, her practiced smile failing to mask her unease. Welcome home, she said, moving to embrace him. The boys missed you terribly. Eric allowed the embrace, his arms wrapping around her with mechanical precision. Where are they? Upstairs, doing homework. They'll be so excited to see you. As if on cue, thundering footsteps preceded the twins' appearance. Daddy! They launched themselves at him, and for a brief moment, genuine warmth touched Eric's eyes. Have you been good for your mother? He asked, knowing the weight those words carried. Yes. Noah beamed. I got an A on my math test, and I learned a new piano piece, Caleb added eagerly. Eric knelt to their level. That's excellent. Why don't you go practice, Caleb? I'd love to hear it after dinner. Once the boys disappeared upstairs, Eric turned to Graciela. I need to catch up on some work. Don't wait up. In his home office, Eric initiated the next phase of his plan. He connected with Ryan via secure messenger. Status update? Ryan's response was immediate. Surveillance equipment in place. Recording all calls and meetings. Eric smiled coldly as he reviewed the transcripts. Oliver and Graciela's conversations revealed their mounting anxiety. Eric's acting strange. Graciela's voice crackled through the recording. He's too calm. You're paranoid. Oliver dismissed. He's clueless. Focus on what matters. Have you secured those documents I asked for? I haven't had a chance. He's barely left his office since he returned. Eric's fingers flew across his keyboard, documenting every interaction. His architect's precision served him well as he constructed a timeline of their betrayal. A soft knock interrupted his work. Enter, he called out, minimizing windows with practiced efficiency. Marta Lang stepped in, her young face serious. Mr. Mercer, I've completed the analysis you requested. Eric had chosen his secretary well. Marta's sharp mind and attention to detail made her invaluable. Show me. She placed a folder on his desk. Oliver McKenzie's company financials don't add up. The property valuations are inflated by at least 40%. There's a pattern of suspicious transactions through shell companies, all leading back to this account. She pointed to a highlighted entry. The same account linked to Graciela, Eric noted, his voice devoid of emotion. Yes, sir. And there's more. The timing of these transactions coincides with your brother's disappearance. Eric's jaw tightened imperceptibly. Excellent work, Marta. I need you to compile everything. Every transaction, every connection. Leave nothing out. Of course, Mr. Mercer. She hesitated. Sir, these numbers, if they're accurate, Mackenzie's entire empire is built on fraud. I'm counting on it. Eric's smile didn't reach his eyes. That will be all, Marta. After she left, Eric contacted Dwayne. The man had proven useful, his gambling debts making him easily manipulable. I need you at the Century Club tomorrow night, Eric instructed. Mackenzie's meeting potential investors. Make sure they receive this information. He attached documents detailing Oliver's fraudulent practices. They'll kill me if they find out, Dwayne whimpered. Thought to find you first. Besides, Tommy Chen's boys are much more creative with their methods. Eric's tone left no room for argument. Don't disappoint me, Dwayne. Over the next few days, Eric orchestrated his revenge with precision. Each morning, he kissed Graciela goodbye as if nothing was amiss. Each night, he reviewed surveillance footage of her frantic meetings with Oliver. He's planning something, Oliver paced in their hotel room. My investors are asking questions. Someone's been feeding them information. What do we do? Graciela's voice trembled. Nothing. We stick to the plan. The pregnancy will keep him distracted. Men like Eric always want to protect their legacy. Eric's laugh was silent and bitter as he watched. They had no idea how wrong they were. Through Dwayne and Murd, he systematically undermined Oliver's business relationships. Anonymous tips to competitors, strategic leaks to partners, careful manipulation of financial records. Each move calculated to maximize damage. Jan visited the office, concern evident in his features. Eric, I've been hearing things. McKinsey's projects are falling apart. His investors are pulling out. The market can be unpredictable, Eric replied smoothly, sorting through documents. This isn't the market. This is orchestrated. Jan lowered his voice. Are you behind this? Eric met his friend's gaze steadily. Would you believe me if I denied it? No, Jan admitted. Just be careful. Men like McKinsey don't go down easily. No, Eric agreed, his voice hardening. They need to be destroyed completely. Eric chose a quiet Sunday evening for the confrontation. The twins were at their grandparents', and Graciela had just returned from another shopping trip, her code for meeting Oliver. He found her in their bedroom, unpacking her bag with nervous energy. Good day? He asked, leaning against the doorframe. Yes, just running errands. Her smile was brittle. Did you eat? I can make something. Sit down, Graciela. His tone made it clear this wasn't a request. She perched on the edge of their bed, hands twisting in her lap. Eric? What's wrong? He placed a thick folder on the dresser. I know about Oliver. I know about the Boston family. I know everything. The color drained from her face. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't. His voice cut through her denial like a knife. I have everything. Phone records, bank statements, hotel receipts, your affair with Oliver, Paul's daughter in Boston. Every lie, every betrayal, documented and verified. Eric, please, I can explain. He began laying out documents methodically. Your secret account, linked to Oliver's company. Your meetings, documented with photographs. Your phone conversations, recorded and transcribed. Would you like me to continue? Graciela's face crumpled. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. Eric's voice remained terrifyingly calm. You and Oliver conspired behind my back. You helped him hide information about my brother's disappearance. You're carrying his child while pretending it's mine. She gasped. How did you? I know everything, Graciela. Everything. He straightened the papers with precise movements. I've already contacted my lawyer. You'll be served divorce papers tomorrow. I'm seeking full custody of the twins. You can't do this. She lurched to her feet, tears streaming down her face. The boys need their mother. The boys need stability and truth, Eric corrected coldly. Two things you're incapable of providing. I'll fight you, she threatened. I'll tell everyone what a controlling monster you are. Go ahead. His smile was arctic. I'm sure the courts will be very interested in your connection to a man under investigation for fraud and possible murder. The words hit her like physical blows. Murder? What are you talking about? Paul didn't disappear on a business trip, did he? Eric stepped closer, his presence menacing. Oliver made him disappear because he discovered something he shouldn't have. And you helped cover it up? No. Graciela stumbled backward. I didn't know Oliver said Paul was threatening to expose some business dealings. He said he'd take care of it. I didn't know he would. Save it for the police. Eric turned away, dismissing her. Pack what you need and get out. My lawyer will contact you about the rest. Eric, please, she sobbed. I love you. No, you love what I provided: stability, status, cover for your schemes with Oliver. He met her eyes one last time. You've made your bed, Graciela. Now you lie in it. As she fled the room in tears, Eric's phone buzzed with a message from Ryan. McKinsey's empire is crumbling. Three major investors pulled out today. His stock is in free fall. Eric allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before calling January. How are things at the office? Chaos, Jan reported. McKinsey's trying to salvage deals, but no one's buying. There's talk of a federal investigation into his financial practices. Keep me posted. Eric ended the call and began methodically removing Graciella's photos from the walls. Each image joined the evidence file, a documentation of lies that would ensure she never saw their children again. The downtown high-rise provided the perfect setting for Eric's final move. He sat at the head of the conference table, reviewing documents while waiting for Oliver McKinsey's arrival. Ryan stood unobtrusively in the corner, his presence insurance against any desperate actions. The door burst open as Oliver strode in, his usual confidence shattered by recent events. What's the meaning of this, Mercer? You said you wanted to discuss a deal. Sit down, Oliver. Eric didn't look up from his papers. We have much to discuss. I don't have time for games. Your company is finished. Eric interrupted smoothly. Your investors have abandoned you. Your projects are under investigation. Your reputation is destroyed. He finally met Oliver's gaze. And we both know why. Oliver's face reddened. You're behind this? Did you really think you could sleep with my wife, steal my company's projects, and make my brother disappear without consequences? You can't prove anything, Oliver snarled, but his eyes darted nervously to the thick folder in front of Eric. Actually, I can prove everything. Eric began laying out documents with architectural precision. Your fraudulent property valuations, your bribes to city officials, your affair with my wife, and most importantly, your connection to Paul's disappearance. Oliver lunged forward, but Ryan's hand on his shoulder forced him back into his seat. You're making a mistake, Mercer. I have friends in high places. Had friends, Eric corrected. They've all abandoned you. Funny how quickly loyalty disappears when someone's usefulness ends. He pushed a particular document forward. This is particularly interesting. A transfer of funds to a known hitman the day before Paul vanished. The same hitman who was recently arrested and seems very eager to make a deal. You're bluffing. Oliver's voice shook slightly. Am I? Eric stood, his height allowing him to tower over Oliver. Your empire is in ruins. Graciella has abandoned you. The police are building a case against you for Paul's murder. You've lost everything, Oliver. Just like you intended for me. Oliver's composure finally cracked. With a roar of rage, he launched himself at Eric, but Ryan was faster. The PI had Oliver pinned to the table before he could reach Eric. That was a mistake, Eric said calmly, straightening his tie. Assault charges will look wonderful alongside fraud and murder. I'll kill you, Oliver spat. I'll destroy everything you love. No, Oliver. I've destroyed everything you love. Your business, your reputation, your freedom. Eric gathered his documents methodically. The authorities are waiting downstairs. They're very interested in what you know about Paul's disappearance. As Ryan hauled Oliver to his feet, Eric stepped close one final time. You tried to take everything from me. Now you understand the cost of that mistake. Eric watched him passively as Ryan escorted a struggling Oliver from the room. His phone buzzed, a message from Jan. Federal agents just raided McKinsey's offices. It's over. Eric straightened his cuffs, satisfaction coursing through him. Phase 2 was complete. His enemies were destroyed, their lives dismantled with the same precision they'd used to attack his family. Now, only justice for Paul remained. Graciella stood outside Eric's office building, her designer clothes now seeming like a costume rather than status symbols. Security had strict instructions. She wasn't allowed past the lobby. Please, she begged the guard. Just tell him I need 5 minutes. Sorry, ma'am. Mr. Mercer's orders are clear. Her phone buzzed. Another call from her lawyer. The divorce papers had arrived that morning, the terms brutal in their totality. Eric wasn't just ending their marriage. He was systematically erasing her from their lives. She tried calling Oliver again, but his number was disconnected. His office phone rang endlessly. Even his secretary had vanished. The carefully constructed world she'd built was crumbling around her. In his office, Eric reviewed the latest reports from his legal team. The custody arrangement was ironclad, supervised visitation only, pinning a full psychological evaluation. His evidence of her involvement in Paul's disappearance had shocked even the hardened family court judge. "Mr. Mercer's?" Marta appeared in his doorway. "Your parents are here." Bernadette rushed in, looking years older than she had at Christmas. "Eric, please. The twins are asking for their mother." "They'll adjust," Eric replied without looking up. "Children are resilient. She's still their mother. She's a woman who helped cover up their uncle's disappearance." Eric's voice could have frozen flame. Who conspired with his likely killer? Who lied about the paternity of her own child? The twins deserve better. "And what about Paul's daughter?" his father asked quietly. "Sarah needs family too. I've already contacted Catherine's lawyers. Once the adoption paperwork is finalized, Sarah will have regular visits with her cousins." Eric's tone softened fractionally. "She's innocent in all this. She'll know her father's family." Bernadette wiped her eyes. "We should have told you sooner. About Paul, about Sarah. Yes, you should have." Eric finally looked up. "But that's done. Now we focus on protecting what family we have left." At her brother's apartment, Graciela found Dwayne packing hastily. "Where are you going?" "Away from here. Away from you." He stuffed clothes into a duffel bag. "Eric's given me enough money to start fresh somewhere else." "You're working for him?" Graciela's voice rose hysterically. "My own brother? What choice did I have?" Dwayne's hands shook. "Tommy Chin's boys were going to kill me. Eric paid my debts, gave me a chance to escape. Meanwhile, you and Oliver," he cut himself off. "What about me and Oliver? You helped him hide what happened to Paul." Dwayne exploded. "Our cousin's husband, the father of that little girl in Boston. How could you?" "I didn't know," Graciela whispered. "Oliver said Paul was threatening the business. He said he'd handle it." "Well, he handled it all right." Dwayne zipped his bag. "And now Eric's handling both of you." News of Oliver's arrest dominated business channels. "Real estate mogul faces federal investigation," the headline screamed. "McKinsey empire collapses amid fraud allegations." In his office, Jan watched the coverage with Eric. "The feds are saying it's one of the biggest financial fraud cases they've seen. Shell companies, inflated valuations, bribes, and murder," Eric added coldly. "They're connecting him to Paul's disappearance." "What about Graciela?" "The police are interested in her role as well." Eric's smile was devoid of warmth, particularly her knowledge of certain financial transactions around the time Paul vanished. Jan studied his friend carefully. "You've destroyed them completely. They try to destroy my family." Eric turned back to his work. "I simply returned the favor." That evening, Eric visited his children at his parents' house. The twins ran to him eagerly, but he noticed their lingering confusion. "When's Mommy coming home?" Caleb asked during dinner. "She's not, buddy." Eric met his son's eyes steadily. "Sometimes adults make very bad choices that hurt people they should protect. Your mother made those choices. Did she hurt Uncle Paul?" Noah's question made everyone freeze. Eric considered his words carefully. "Yes, she helped someone who hurt Uncle Paul very badly. That's why she can't be part of our family anymore." The twins absorbed this with the direct acceptance of children. "Can we still have Christmas?" Caleb asked worriedly. "Of course." Eric pulled them close. "We'll always have Christmas. And this year, you might meet your cousin Sarah." The discovery of Paul's body hit the family like a physical blow. The construction site where Oliver's men had buried him was being cleared for a new development when workers found the remains. Eric stood with the detective, watching the forensics team work. "The medical examiner confirms it was a professional hit," Detective Morris explained. "Single shot to the back of the head. Body weighted down before burial. Just like our witness described," Eric noted. The hitman's confession had been comprehensive once Eric's legal team negotiated his deal. "Mr. McKinsey's not talking, but he doesn't need to. We have the money trail, the phone records, everything." Morris closed his notebook. "Your brother was looking into McKinsey's fraudulent permits when he disappeared?" Paul was an environmental engineer. He discovered McKinsey's projects were violating every safety regulation in the book. Eric's jaw tightened. "Instead of fixing the problems, McKinsey fixed my brother." Back at the office, Eric met with Catherine, Paul's widow, and Sarah's mother. The years had carved grief into her face, but her spine was steel. "The police say they have enough to convict," she said, hands wrapped around her coffee cup. Both Oliver and Graciela. Yes. Eric's voice gentled slightly. Sarah will be taking care of Catherine. The trust fund is already established. She looks so much like him. Catherine's voice caught. That's how this all started, isn't it? Someone noticed how much she resembles Paul. My mother saw a photo. She and my father tried to protect me by hiding the truth. Eric's laugh was bitter. Everyone trying to protect everyone else, while Oliver and Graciela played their games. What will you tell Sarah about her father? The truth. That he was a hero who died trying to protect people from dangerous buildings and corrupt developers. Eric met her eyes. That his family loves her and always will. The investigation moved quickly. Oliver's empire had been built on bribes and fraud, each project more dangerous than the last. Paul had discovered structural problems that could have killed hundreds. The foundation issues alone could have collapsed entire buildings, Jan explained, reviewing the reports. Paul was going to expose everything, and Oliver couldn't allow that. Eric stared at his brother's photo on his desk. So he had him killed and used my wife to help cover it up. The evidence was damning. Security footage showed Paul entering Oliver's office the day he disappeared. Phone records revealed multiple calls between Oliver and the hitman. Bank transfers tracked the blood money. Most devastating were Graciela's text messages to Oliver. Paul knows too much. Handle it before he ruins everything. When confronted by police, she broke down completely. Oliver said he'd just threaten him, make him back off. I didn't know he'd kill him. But her actions after Paul's death told a different story. She'd helped establish the fiction of his business trip, had reassured Eric repeatedly that Paul was just busy abroad, had watched Eric grieve his brother's absence while knowing the terrible truth. The police investigation revealed more than just Paul's murder. Oliver's projects were death traps waiting to happen. Buildings with substandard materials, ignored safety violations, falsified inspections, all covered up with bribes and threats. Your brother saved countless lives, Detective Morris told Eric. These buildings would have eventually failed catastrophically. Eric ensured Paul's story reached every news outlet. His brother hadn't just been murdered. He died trying to prevent a massive public safety disaster. The coverage painted Paul as a whistleblower hero and Oliver as a killer who'd put profits above human life. The renovation of Eric's home was more than cosmetic. It was excising the cancer of betrayal from his life. Every trace of Graciela vanished, replaced by warm, comfortable spaces where his children could heal. The boys' rooms are finished, Marta reported, reviewing the contractor's work. She'd proven invaluable during the transitions, her efficiency helping to rebuild both home and office. Excellent. Eric signed the papers promoting her to operations director. The company needs your skills at a higher level. Thank you, Mr. Mercer. She hesitated. The Boston lawyers called. Catherine's agreed to bring Sarah for Christmas. Eric nodded, satisfaction warming his chest. His niece would know her family, would understand the father who died protecting others. The truth had cost them all dearly, but lies had cost even more. Jan arrived with champagne and contracts. The Morrison deal is done. Our biggest project yet. We'll do it right, Eric declared. Every inspection documented. Every safety regulation exceeded. Paul's legacy. They were celebrating the signing when Eric's phone rang. His mother calling from Boston. Sarah wants to talk to you, Bernadette said softly. She has so many questions about her father. Eric took the call in his office. Hello, Sarah. Uncle Eric? The young voice was hesitant. Grandma says you knew my daddy. I did, sweetheart. He was my brother and my best friend. Eric's voice remained steady. Would you like to hear about him? The conversation flowed naturally. Sarah's curiosity about her father matched by Eric's need to share him with her. They talked about Paul's laugh, his love of building things, his determination to help others. Can I come see you at Christmas? She asked hopefully. Of course. Your cousins can't wait to meet you. Eric smiled. We'll decorate the tree together. That December, Eric watched his children and niece hanging ornaments on a fresh pine tree. Their laughter filled the house, chasing away the ghosts of last year's betrayals. Daddy, can I put the star on top? Noah held up the golden ornament. No fair. You did it last year. Caleb protested. Sarah giggled. Maybe we can all help? Eric lifted them one by one, their small hands working together to place the star. The simple joy in their faces was its own kind of justice. The innocent protected, the guilty punished, the truth revealed. Later, as the children slept, Eric sat in his office reviewing the final reports. Oliver faced life in prison for Paul's murder, his business empire dismantled. Graciela had taken a plea deal, trading testimony for a lighter sentence. She would never see the twins again. Dwayne had disappeared to California, his gambling debts paid and his sister's betrayal behind him. The police had closed Paul's case. Justice finally served. Eric closed the files with finality. The winter of betrayal had ended. Spring would bring new projects, new challenges, new joy with his expanded family. He had protected his children, avenged his brother, and rebuilt his world stronger than before. The sound of small feet made him turn. Sarah stood in the doorway, clutching a photo of Paul. "Tell me another story about Daddy," she asked sleepily. Eric lifted her onto his lap, vengeance melting into tenderness. This was Paul's true legacy, not the manner of his death, but the love that lived on in his daughter. "Your father was the bravest man I knew," Eric began, his voice soft but strong. "And he would have loved you more than anything in the world." Outside his office, the Christmas tree glowed warmly, its stars shining like a beacon of hope for their renewed family. They had weathered the storm of betrayal and emerged stronger, wiser, more resilient. The past was behind them, and the future stretched bright before them, full of promise and possibility. Epilogue: 5 years later. The Illinois State Correctional Center for Women maintained strict visiting hours. Graciela Jenkins, inmate number 47291, sat in the visitation room, her once manicured hands now rough from prison work detail. Her dark hair had lost its salon perfection, gray strands prominent despite her relatively young age. Her monthly visit from her court-appointed therapist was one of few connections to the outside world. No one else came anymore. Not her brother, not her former friends, and certainly not her children. "How are you adjusting to the new medication?" Dr. Peterson asked, reviewing her notes. "It helps with the anxiety." Graciela's voice had lost its culture polish. "The nightmares about Paul are less frequent." "You still dream about him?" "About the day Oliver told me it was handled." Her hands twisted in her lap. "I keep seeing Paul's face when he confronted us about the fraudulent permits. I should have known what Oliver meant." Her 3-year sentence for criminal conspiracy felt both eternal and insufficient. The plea deal had spared her a longer term, but her testimony against Oliver had marked her as a snitch. Even in minimum security, that made life dangerous. "Have you heard anything about the twins?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "Mrs. Jenkins, we've discussed this. The restraining order is still in effect. They're thriving with their father, and the court has determined that contact would be detrimental to their well-being." Graciela's carefully maintained composure cracked. "They're my children. Eric has no right." "Mr. Mercer has every right," Dr. Peterson interrupted firmly. "Your involvement in their uncle's murder case and subsequent attempts to manipulate them during supervised visits led the court to terminate your parental rights. That decision is final." In downtown Chicago, the Mercer Architectural Group had expanded significantly. Eric's reputation for ethical business practices and uncompromising standards had attracted major clients who wanted to avoid any hint of the scandals that had rocked the construction industry after Oliver McKenzie's case. Eric reviewed project plans with Jan and Marta in the conference room of their new offices. At 43, he'd lost none of his commanding presence. If anything, the past 5 years had heightened his authority. "The Boston expansion is exceeding projections," Marta reported. Her promotion to operations director had proven prescient. Under her leadership, the company had nearly tripled in size. Catherine's environmental consulting firm has been instrumental in ensuring all safety protocols exceed requirements. "Paul would be proud," Jan noted. "His legacy lives on in every building we design." Eric nodded, satisfaction evident in his expression. After Oliver's conviction, he'd established the Paul Mercer Foundation for Environmental Safety in Construction. The foundation worked to expose corrupt developers and protect whistleblowers, ensuring no other family suffered their tragedy. "How was Sarah's college interview?" Jan asked as they wrapped up the meeting. Excellent. MIT's environmental engineering program is her first choice. Eric's pride was evident. She wants to follow in her father's footsteps. The years had transformed Sarah from a confused child into a passionate advocate for her father's causes. At 17, she split her time between Catherine in Boston and the Mercers in Chicago, the family bond stronger than the distance. The twins, now 11, had weathered their mother's absence with remarkable resilience. Noah showed early signs of following Eric into architecture, while Caleb's interest in computer science suggested a different path. Both boys maintained close relationships with their cousin Sarah, their shared loss creating an unshakable bond. Across town, in the maximum security wing of the Metropolitan Correctional Center, Oliver McKenzie faced another decade of incarceration. The once powerful developer had aged badly, his slick charm replaced by bitter desperation. His empire had crumbled spectacularly. The federal investigation sparked by Eric's evidence had uncovered decades of fraud, bribery, and criminal negligence. 17 of his buildings had required extensive structural repairs. 3 had been condemned entirely. The murder charge had been the final nail in his coffin. The hitman's testimony, combined with financial records and Graciella's confession, had resulted in a 25-year sentence. His appeals had been denied repeatedly. Oliver's only visitors were his lawyers, bearing increasingly bad news. Civil suits from investors and homeowners had stripped him of every asset. The Paul Mercer Foundation ensured his name became synonymous with corporate corruption, a cautionary tale taught in business ethics classes. In California, Dwayne Sargent had built a new life far from Chicago's shadows. Eric's seed money had helped him establish a small but successful recovery program for gambling addicts. He never contacted his sister, the weight of her betrayal still too heavy to bear. Bernadette and James Mercer had sold their Chicago home, moving closer to Boston to help Catherine with Sarah. The guilt of their initial silence about Paul's daughter had transformed into fierce dedication to their granddaughter's welfare. The family gathered each Christmas, alternating between Chicago and Boston. This year, Eric hosted in his renovated home, now a warm haven of new memories overlaying the old pain. Sarah helped the twins decorate the tree, their easy laughter a stark contrast to that fateful Christmas 5 years ago. At 17, she was a striking image of Paul, the same determined set to her jaw, the same brilliant mind, the same unwavering moral compass. Uncle Eric? She approached him in his study, holding a framed photo of Paul. MIT's engineering department is hosting a lecture series on ethical construction practices. Would you be the keynote speaker? Talk about Dad's work? Eric smiled, genuine warmth replacing his usual reserve. I'd be honored. Your father's story needs to be told. The Paul Mercer Foundation had become a powerful force in the industry. Its investigations had exposed dozens of corrupt developers, saved countless lives, and established new standards for construction safety. Paul's death had sparked a revolution in corporate accountability. Graciella heard about these changes through prison news reports. Each story of the Foundation's success twisted the knife of her complicity. Her carefully constructed life had shattered like the faulty foundations her lover had built, leaving nothing but regret. Her attempt to contact the twins on their birthday had resulted in additional restrictions. The letter she wrote monthly went unsent, the court order preventing any communication until they turned 18. By then, she knew it would be too late. Eric had given them something she never could: unwavering truth and unshakable stability. Oliver's final appeal was denied the same week Sarah received her MIT acceptance letter. The symmetry wasn't lost on Eric. As one architect of destruction faced his fate, another prepared to build a better future. The Foundation's latest investigation had uncovered links between Oliver and 3 other developers, their corrupt practices mirroring his methods. Eric provided evidence to federal prosecutors, his reputation for ruthless exposure of corruption now legendary in the industry. You never give up, do you? Jan asked, reviewing the new case files. They thought they could destroy my family. Eric's voice held the same cold determination that had driven him 5 years ago. I'll spend the rest of my life proving that was their biggest mistake, Each Christmas, the family tradition of decorating the tree became a celebration of survival and renewal. The twins hung their ornaments beside Sarah's, their bond stronger than blood. Catherine and the grandparents shared stories of Paul, keeping his memory alive in the next generation. Eric watched his family, satisfaction warming his chest. He had protected his children, avenged his brother, and built something lasting from the ashes of betrayal. The world now knew the true story of Paul Mercer, and his killers faced justice every day of their imprisoned lives. In her prison cell, Graciela kept a newspaper clipping about the Foundation's work. The photo showed Eric with the twins and Sarah at a charity gala, their happiness a constant reminder of everything she'd lost. Her therapist called it self-punishment, but she saw it as penance, a daily reminder that actions had consequences, and some betrayals could never be forgiven. Oliver, in his maximum security cell, had finally stopped applying for appeals. His lawyers had abandoned him, his money was gone, and his name was Mud. He spent his days watching his empire crumble further as the Foundation exposed more of his corrupt deals. The twins rarely asked about their mother anymore. When they did, Eric told them the truth, that she had chosen lies over family, and some choices couldn't be undone. They seemed to understand, their young minds grasping the simple truth that actions had consequences. Sarah had grown into her role as the Foundation's unofficial ambassador. Her speeches about corporate responsibility and ethical construction practices drew from personal experience, her father's story touching hearts and changing minds. "Dad would be proud of all of us," she told Eric after a particularly successful Foundation event. "We've made sure his death wasn't in vain." Eric's empire had grown beyond architecture into a force for industry-wide change. The Mercer name, once associated with one family's tragedy, now stood for uncompromising integrity and relentless pursuit of justice. The truth about Paul's murder had sparked a nationwide conversation about corporate corruption and whistleblower protection. New laws bore his name, protecting those who dared to expose dangerous practices. Each year, the Foundation hosted the Paul Mercer Ethics in Construction Symposium. Industry leaders gathered to discuss safety standards and corporate responsibility, while Sarah and the twins presented scholarships to engineering students committed to ethical practices. Eric's ruthless destruction of those who had betrayed him became a cautionary tale in Chicago's business circles. His enemies had learned the hard way that crossing Eric Mercer meant complete and systematic annihilation, professional, personal, and legal. Yet with his family, he showed a different side. He attended every school event, supported every interest, and ensured his children grew up understanding both justice and mercy. They learned that strength meant protecting others, and that family meant standing together against any threat. The twins excelled in school, their father's determination evident in their approach to challenges. Sarah's acceptance to MIT was just the beginning. The next generation of Mercers would build on Paul's legacy, ensuring that truth and justice remained their family's foundation. As Eric sat in his study that Christmas Eve, he reflected on the 5 years since that fateful December night. His enemies were imprisoned, his family was stronger, and his brother's legacy lived on. He had turned tragedy into triumph, betrayal into strength, and loss into lasting change. The sound of laughter drew him from his thoughts. In the living room, his children and niece decorated the tree, their joy unmarred by the shadows of the past. They had survived the winter of betrayal and emerged stronger, their bonds forged in adversity and tempered by truth. This was his true victory, not just destroying those who had wronged him, but building something stronger from the ruins. The Mercer family had faced betrayal and emerged unbroken, their legacy now one of justice served and honor preserved. In her prison cell, Graciela marked another day off her calendar. In the maximum security wing, Oliver stared at his own walls. Their choices had cost them everything, while their victims had turned tragedy into triumph. Justice, Eric had learned, wasn't just about punishment. It was about transformation. He had transformed his pain into purpose, his anger into action, and his loss into a legacy that would outlive them all. The Christmas star atop the tree shone brightly, a beacon of hope and reminder of renewal. The winter's reckoning had brought darkness, But the Mercer family had emerged into a spring of new possibilities, their bond stronger and their purpose clearer than ever before. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.